I'll be committed to the University of Texas.
People were pretty excited about Wingo Wednesday. It was absolutely wild. So here to help us break down what it's next is Hank South of Horns247. Hank, it was a true back and forth battle between Texas and the home state school, Mizzou. So in your eyes, how did Sark end up the victor in this battle for the 5-star?
Yeah, I asked a source that yesterday, because there was a lot of buzz towards Mizzou in the last couple of weeks for Ryan Wingo. That's where the crystal ball was pointed. That's where pretty much the entire industry expected him to go. The source I asked said, we didn't do anything different. We just stayed the course. And that's kind of what exactly you have to do with a recruit like that. Even with him committing to Texas, Texas still is going to have to recruit him like he's an uncommitted recruit. Mizzou's not going to stop coming after him. They're still going to try to flip him. I'm sure other schools will still try to stay involved as well. But, I think, Texas just, sold what they had to offer, an opportunity to play early in Austin, with the guys they're potentially leaving. Obviously, Steve Sarkisian's offense, the way they can scheme him open, the ability to get him the ball, I think he really enjoyed that. And obviously the chance to, catch passes from Arch Manning or Malik Murphy, depending on who's the quarterback, or even, if Quinn Ewers is the quarterback next year, whoever's throwing passes, it's a talented guy back there. So I think all those combined, his relationship with the staff, Chris Jackson, the wide receivers coach, has an NFL on his resume, and that was big for Ryan as well. I think all that kind of combined really, tilted the scale towards Texas in the end.
We've seen the impact that Xavier Worthy has had on that offense, and obviously that dates back to when he was a true freshman. Guys like Jordan Whittington and Jatavian Sanders, and even out of the backfield catching balls were Bijan Robinson and others. Hank, when you think about the future for Ryan Wingo, how does he fit into this Steve Sarkisian offense?
Yeah, I think he's exactly kind of that X receiver you look at, the guy with that size speed combo that can be physical, that can get open, that can go and win those one-on-one matchups. He's a big kid. He's 6'2", 205. And, you look at what's going to happen next year, you're likely seeing Worthy go to the NFL. You're likely seeing Adonai Mitchell go to the NFL. Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, could go. And then Jordan Whittington is out of eligibility. So, that's a lot of production, that Texas is going to be losing on its offense. And they've recruited the wide receiver position well. They have Jonte Cook, who's probably going to be wide receiver 1 next season. They have DeAndre Moore. They have Ryan Niblett. But a guy like Ryan Wingo can come in, especially if, he can get in, learn the playbook, acclimate himself to that college structure in the system. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make an impact immediately next fall as Texas enters the SEC.
Big move for Texas ahead. You mentioned how Ryan Wingo is ready for that next level, and we like to kind of follow the tea leaves to see when one guy commits, who potentially follows him. But Texas still having to continue to commit Ryan Wingo, as you said. So who is next maybe on Texas's wish list?
Yeah, it's funny, after the Alabama win, all the Texas fans have been asking, when's the recruiting momentum going to start? And, since that win, it hasn't been a ton of commits, but the 2 commitments they have earned are 2 5-stars, so that's pretty good. But no, it is always about what's next, who could commit next. And I think, you look at the recruiting board, and I don't think there's a bigger target going forward with Wingo now committed than Kobe Black, the 5-star cornerback from Waco. That's a position that Texas, really needs to close on. Obviously, we've seen some struggles in the secondary the last few weeks, at least particularly last week against Houston. They're kind of banged up in the secondary, so looks like there could be some competition there this spring. Depending on roster attrition, what happens with that. But that's a spot Texas really wants to close strong at. Kobe Black likely going to play safety at Texas if he does end up. He's actually trending heavily to the Longhorns, and I think he could be maybe that next guy up in terms of uncommitted guys that ends up in the class. I think he's slated to be back on campus for the K-State game at the beginning of next month. There's other guys like DeAndre Carter, the 4-star interior offensive lineman from Mater Dei High School out in California. He's actually committed to Auburn, but Texas is working really hard to flip him. They got him on campus during that Kansas weekend at the end of September for an official visit. He'd already committed to Auburn, so certainly the lines of communication are still open. And it sounds like Greg Biggins had a good story up earlier this week, or I think last weekend, that he's still kind of mulling things over. He's not totally sure on what he's going to do. So Texas has certainly given him something to think about. His teammate Brandon Baker is committed to Texas. So, you got that in-house recruiter there, and Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian, they've really set up themselves nicely at Mater Dei High School, with the guys they're getting there and slated to potentially get in the future. Other guys like Solomon Williams, the 4-star edge rusher, that's a position Texas wants to close on. Oregon, Texas A&M, Alabama, those are kind of the other schools in play for him. But yeah, it's going to be a fun run up to signing day with the guys they're still in play for, and particularly considering most of the guys they're still recruiting outside of Williams and Kobe Black are committed elsewhere. So, it's going to be an interesting, potential spatula season, as Steve Wiltfong says.
We sure do love spatula season, and we know that if it hits Texas, you will be all over it. Hank, thank you so much for being here today. You can check out more of his work at Horns247. You can track all the fallout from this big commitment and maybe what could be next for the Longhorns. He threw a lot of names out there. It ain't over yet, though, so check it all out at Horns247.com.